to the channel. Today I'm going to be discussing about Bitcoin, the stock market, gold, and so much more. This week is going to be so critical. So listen very carefully until the end of the video because I'm going to explain to you what's going to be happening with Bitcoin if we're going to achieve a new all-time high, what we can see according to the data, and how high we could go with Bitcoin. Of course, before we continue, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel because we post one video every single day. Today, this week, super critical. The Federal Reserve is going to decide whether they're going to cut interest rates. Some people are saying that cutting interest rates is not a good idea, is very, very bad because in general precedes a recession, which is true. But people like, for example, macroeconomists like Lynn Alden are saying that in general, if you cut interest rates from an inflationary standpoint towards normalcy, is actually a good thing. What he's trying to say is the fact that at the moment, the first one or two rate cuts from the Federal Reserve might actually be positive because right now the economy is still, in brackets, quite strong. And therefore, having a strong economy, having a belief of a strong economy without any substantial signs of recession could really help us to continue to pump with the stock market as well as with crypto. But today I'm going to give you a very interesting comparison for you to understand what could be happening. At the moment, as I always say, guys, with Bitcoin and the crypto market right now is a trader's market. Bitcoin is being pretty much moving and chopping sideways, up and down. So I always say to you guys, if you don't know how to trade, you are going to get slaughtered in this market. So that's why with our VIP members, guys, we always updated. This is our VIP group. You can see trading results from our best members. We provide altcoin analysis every single day, Bitcoin analysis, short term, long term. We have trading calls, we have crypto chats, we also have the stock market. And the reason for having all of these, guys, is because it's important to have guidance within this space. Because if you're going to do it by yourself, not having the knowledge in macroeconomics, technical analysis, you're going to get slaughtered. So link in the description if you want to join the VIP group. You will not regret it. But let's go back into Bitcoin and let's see where we are. Right now, guys, BTC on the weekly chart, you can see that we are trying to climb back up, around this area over here. We formed a beautiful, what we can call bullish engulfing candle around this area over here. You can see this last candle over here. And right now we are having a sort of rejection around this area over here. In order to be very, very bullish, we will need Bitcoin to be able to break these two lines over here. At the moment, remember, at the moment, we are still in a downward trend. You can see that right now we are going down this way. So unless this is going to change, it's not going to change. We're not going to be able to break from this channel over here. There is a risk that what could be happening, we're going to continue to go down this way. So it could be maybe something like this, and then maybe up, or up like this. But the most important thing right now is that we can't see any change of trend. And I really tell people so many times this is very important to understand. So from like a weekly point of view, that's what I can see. I can see that if the market is going to perceive the Fed cutting rates in a negative manner, then what we could be seeing could be one last drop of BTC down to this area, $45,000 to $44,000, and then we should be able to go up and break finally this channel over here and go around 90 or 100K. But otherwise, if we're going to see a positive reaction from the market, then we could be seeing Bitcoin to pump up to this area. Now, what I want to do, I want to discuss for this week until the FOMC meeting for today and tomorrow, what to expect with BTC, just for you to have an idea. And then I'm going to show you a very interesting chart with the S&P 500 and also gold and also Bitcoin to show you what could be happening when the Fed is going to cut interest rates according to previous data. So I'm going to go straight away into the daily chart and show you what I think is happening right now. I'm going to go on D. As you can see from here, guys, BTC had a beautiful pump, to the upside in the last few days. But as I explained before, we are still in a sort of a downtrend. So what we need to do right now for BTC to be bullish again is to be able to break this diagonal level of resistance over here. Unless, we're going to be able to forcefully break this area over here, then I could be saying we could be going, higher. But right now, if we're going to be touching this level here and get rejected all the time, then what you can see is pretty much a continuation of this downtrend. and it can continue as much as you want. So that's why we need to make sure that in the next, I would say, few days or maybe few weeks to be able to break this point over here, which is very, very important. And once we break it, we can go up to here, and then once we can go above this level, then we can really go and hunt for a new all-time high. And from, I would say, like an intraday point of view right now, BTC, I'm going to go on the 4-hour chart. As per expectation in our VIP group, I was saying to my group members, 59,500-ish. We should have seen a rejection with Bitcoin. We pumped a little bit higher. Of course, typical market makers try to try to fake you out. And then, of course, it went back to the mean at 58,800. Right now, what I can see from here is pretty much a potential correction down to this area over here in the golden pocket of Fibonacci, which is sitting right now at around 56,500 to 55,000. So I wouldn't be surprised if we are going to see maybe today a sell-off in the stock market, a little bit today or tomorrow, and we could be seeing something like this. So a dump down to this area, 56,600-ish, and then a continuation to the upside, maybe something like this, and then finally we should be able to go up to this area. But if we're going to lose this support over here, there's a risk we're going to go down again. So that's what I'm expecting right now for today. It's going to be a little bit more of a correction. And now, finally, I'm going to explain to you a few things, what happened in the past when the Fed cut the interest rates and all of that, so you're going to have a very good understanding. So what I would like to show you today is the comparison of the S&P 500 and gold when the Fed cut interest rates in 2007. 2007 was very, very similar. The Fed started to cut interest rates as well in September, which is quite remarkable. And what happened over here, the S&P 500, as you can see from here, right? So the Fed cut the rates from roughly the 17th of September. So we were roughly around here. So we went down in this area over here. They cut interest rates, and the S&P 500 had a pump for the remaining 4 weeks of roughly 7%-ish. So went up again, broke a new all-time high, and then from here, the recession downward started with Lehman Brothers and, all the stories. So the thing is Bitcoin going to follow the same pathway as the S&P 500? And is the S&P 500 going to follow the same pathway as 2007? Because if you actually look at here, right, the situation is very, very similar. You can see that the S&P 500 right now is pretty much, has formed a new all-time high, and now is trying to break up again. So what we could be seeing from here could be a potential last push to the upside for these next upcoming months, maybe up to this area over here, maybe reaching roughly $6,000 for the S&P 500. And that would be making sense, right? Because you can see that we had this explosion to the upside, almost like a very steep curve right now for SPX. And I could be seeing maybe something like this, maybe go up to here. And then from there, we could be seeing like a sort of like a consolidation from here. So if this is the case, that we're going to see one last pump of the S&P 500 from now until the end of October, then Bitcoin doesn't have much time. So if it's going to mimic the S&P 500, then Bitcoin, so if the SPX had a 7% in 2007, right now we are at 5,600. So what you can do, you can add pretty much roughly $300, $400, which can bring you to a level of roughly $6,000 for SPX. So let's put this on in relative terms, right? If the S&P 500 is going to have a 7%, 10% pump after these interest rate cuts for the months of September and October, then Bitcoin could have, I would say, a bigger pump of roughly maybe, I would say, 30%, 35%. So what we want to make sure is that when the Fed is going to cut interest rates, we want to see lots of strength coming from here. Because if we're going to still see, once the Fed cut interest rates, this typical, how do I call it? Like, a rangy scenario where Bitcoin is not going to react, then we're going to be in trouble. But also, if you're going to see this little movement like that, and then maybe this, then probably it will be, following very well the S&P 500. That's going to be my expectation if we follow SPX and the Nasdaq. Maybe a pump, up to 75, 80K, very little pump, and then we're going to go down. And then later, we're going to have a another pump. However, which is quite remarkable, if Bitcoin is going to follow gold, the same time, the same place, in 2007, gold did something very, very different. You can see that gold, when they started to cut interest rates, was roughly around this area over here, 685. And from here until March 2008, it went up to roughly 1,030. It had a 45% pump. So historically, October, November, December until March, Bitcoin has been very, very good, brought very good gains. So the question is, if gold is going to explode the same way it did in 2007, of course it's going to go up to probably 3,000 an ounce, 2,800, 3,000 an ounce. That could be a definite possibility. We're already at 2,600, so we could be seeing a blow off top, with gold as well. So if this is the case, how much is Bitcoin going to pump? And in my opinion, if gold is going to go up to, let's say, 3,000, 3,200 an ounce, it's going to have a 20, 30% pump. I would say that for BTC to have a 60%, 70% pump up to 100K is not out of the question. But what we want to see, as I said before, we want to see strength here. We want to see something like this big, fat, yellow candle. Because if you're not going to see that, we're going to be in trouble. So, to be honest, I'm quite, I would say the situation looks very promising. Looks like, we're about to get out, from this range over here and finally, go and pump up to here to, 90K, 100K, even because so many indicators right now, like for example, I'm going to show you the stochastic RSI. It's really completely bashed. Looks like, in my opinion, we could be seeing, and according of course to data, maybe one last drop down to here, 46,000, 47,000, make everybody scared, and then we should be able to see a nice pump finally to the upside. And we need to understand right now if BTC is going to follow the S&P 500 or is going to follow gold. In my opinion, looks that it could potentially be following more gold, but I guess we have to wait and see. But the purpose of today is just to make you understand where we are and if we're going to see a pump incoming. Next two things I want to show you today, guys, very important. The XY dollar currency index on a brink of collapse. Remember, whenever the Fed is going to cut interest rates, this thing is going to go down heavily, because usually when they hike interest rates, the dollar goes up. When they go down with interest rates, the dollar goes down. And you can see there is a big support around this area over here, which is roughly at 95, 96. This is very positive for gold, for crypto, and also for stocks. So I'm expecting probably, if they're going to cut 50 basis points or whatever, 25 basis points this week, we could see maybe a retest from here and then a continuation to the downside, which is going to be very, very good. And the last one is the US 10 Treasury yield, fixed income as well. Very important for me right now, what we call the head and shoulder. If this is going to go down again, all the investors are going to take money away from fixed income and put them into potentially risk assets to pump the markets and go to new highs. So overall, guys, it looks that the economy is still holding relatively well. Probably they don't tell the real story, but doesn't matter. They're probably going to try to keep this nice momentum until the elections, maybe 1 month past the election, and then the potential crash is going to start. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope it was helpful to understand this comparison between gold and S&P 500 and Bitcoin. And of course, if you have any question, please leave a comment down below. But otherwise, I'm going to see you tomorrow for another video, another update about Bitcoin, stocks, and the cryptocurrency market. Take care, and I'm going to see you soon.